Isagi Yoichi is seen as this gem, this jewel, this amazing prodigy all around the world, and especially in Japan. Now, everybody looking in thinks that he is some prodigy, that he didn't work for this, that he is just lucky. But this was no luck. He wasn't lucky. He worked for this. He trained for this. Yes, genetically, he was pretty inclined, but still, he had to step on the field. He had to work out. He had to do all the things he needed to do, and it made him an absolute elite player. And honestly, his stock and his prospect would only rise when he would take on the team against Kira. Kira was also a very talented player, and many knew him as such. But when Isagi took him on, it seems like it was night and day, as if it wasn't that close by any means. Isagi would take on Kira, and it would be a spectacle. Isagi would show off his insane range, and he would shoot from absolute distances that nobody would even see coming. It was just insane. And everybody would kind of be in complete and utter awe just watching him dissect and obliterate this team that's in front of him and absolutely just destroy. He would watch, or everyone would watch, as he's able to pass the most beautiful and dynamic passes they've ever seen. They watch as his dribbling is so unorthodox but also so graceful that everyone just oohs and ahs as he just dips and dodges through Kira and their entire defense and their entire team. And eventually, it would lead them to a dominant win. And this would be a dominant fashion leading into their nationals game. But the normal pathway to the very top, the normal kind of adventure to the very top for Isagi, well, it wouldn't happen the way you think. Because Isagi would celebrate with his team, head home, and the very next day he would get a letter that would change his life forever. This letter would change everything. This letter involved, well, one place and one place only, and that is Blue Lock. He would arrive at this place not knowing that it's called Blue Lock necessarily, and he would listen to what seemed to be a madman by the name of Jinpachi Ego, and he would speak to everyone there, speaking to every single person about what they're there for, what they're going to do, and so on. He would tell them all that this is their path to greatness, that being the greatest striker alive will give them not only fame and glory, will lead them to becoming not only the best, but also making Japan the best. And that's what they want. They want to lead Japan to a World Cup. And as he just continues to spew on, he talks about being an egoist, talks about channeling that ego and utilizing it to your best advantage. He continues to say this over and over again, saying that the best strikers all in the world have egos. The best strikers in the world are egoists, and that's the truth of it. So Isagi watches as a door would open and Jinpachi Ego would leverage one thing, that the winner of Blue Lock, the very winner of Blue Lock, would be the striker for Japan's national team. But there's one thing, one caveat. If you're eliminated, you are never allowed to play for Japan's national team ever in your life. Now this would scare people, but Isagi would not be afraid. He would step through those doors looking at Jinpachi Ego as he walks through, and there is no fear in Isagi's eyes. He is not scared of a single thing. When he walks through, he would walk through the doors, and when he would walk through those doors, he would actually enter Team Z. When he would enter the room, he would be all dressed up in his Blue Lock attire, and he would wait for everyone to arrive. Eventually, everyone would, and Isagi would await the words of Jinpachi Ego. And when those words would come, it would all come on basically a large screen. This large screen would have Jinpachi Ego talking about their first little test. they need to get rid of one person. And that one person is, well, gonna be the person that actually loses in this next little test that they have in mind. And this test is something a little bit different than you'd possibly believe. This test is actually a game of tag. Yeah, this would confuse a lot of people there, because why are they playing a game of tag? Why would you play a game of tag? But it's also then explained that this game of tag involves one major thing. And that major thing is that, well, if you're hit with the ball, you're it. And if you're it after a certain amount of time, after about 2 minutes and 30 seconds, then you are out and you are eliminated. And hearing this does put a ton of stakes onto this, and it definitely would scare many people. But eventually the game would start with the drop of a ball. The ball would drop from the sky and everybody would kind of stay away from it, but Isagi would immediately go and step on the ball, telling them that, I mean, if they want to go big, well, they better take that next step. In which everyone realizes what he's saying, as immediately the ball is kicked extremely hard toward one of them, as the monk boy would get hit with it, flopping to the ground. He would slowly but surely recover as he takes the ball and tries to hit someone else with it. Isagi would kind of just dip and dodge and easily move around, as they kind of all struggled to try and not be it. But as everyone struggles, Isagi would eventually see and hear Kira call out that someone's sleeping on the ground and that they should just hit him. Monk Boy turns and is contemplating this, as he decides to more or less not do that. But just as Isagi sees this, he would take the ball and kick it immediately at Kira, hitting him directly in the chest. And Kira tries to respond, but realizes he should just take the easy out. So he basically is about to kick the ball right at the sleeping person, but the sleeping person would wake up. This person is named Bachira, and he would kick Kira right in the face. As he kicks Kira in the face, everyone would kind of say that that's cheap and so on, but Isagi says that he thinks otherwise. I mean, look at what he was trying to do. He was trying to hit someone that was sleeping, that was defenseless. And if you want to talk about fairness, that is fair. In which Bachira would say that he won't kick or hit anybody anymore. And as he would receive the ball himself, and basically on purpose, he would take the ball and kick it toward Isagi. But it would actually look like he's trying to pass the ball to Isagi. Isagi would take it and kick it directly back toward Kira, smacking him in the face with it, thinking that Kira is the best suited to leave now. That he doesn't want to hear this whole Kira being a fair player when he just tried to more or less kick a ball at someone that was sleeping or laying down defenseless. At the end of the timer, Kira would be the one with the ball in his hands technically. And Kira would be the last person to be it, which means, well, the main thing, and that means he is out. That he is out, and it seems as if, well, Kira and his stay here, there's a very short ending to it. So that's exactly what happens. Kira is eliminated, and it seems like they're down to now 11 people. After Kira struggles to leave and just doesn't want to, but eventually is let out, everyone would begin listening to Jinpachi Ego as he explains that these 11 people will now be on a team, and that they will make up a team that will lead to them taking on basically each other teams that are in this facility. Hearing this, they're kind of excited, but also kind of taken back by this. The fact is, they're all strikers, so how are they going to do this? How is it going to all work? And of course, Jinpachi Ego would say that it was once a time that everyone was a striker, that it was all just strikers, and now they're going to have to adapt to that specifically. So Jinpachi Ego tells them to figure it out because their next game is very, very soon. And a little bit of training later and just working out and getting ready, It would eventually lead to their first game against Team X. Now, Team X is in the same boat as them in terms of not really understanding where to go and not really understanding what to do. And that's perfect for their team because at the end of the day, there shouldn't be as many struggles when they both don't know what to do. And when the start of this game would begin, it was obvious that they would all be fighting for the ball. They all fought for the ball. And the reason for this is because if their team doesn't go on to the next round, the person with the highest number of goals will go on to the next round, or it's a mix of goals and assists. So they all fight over the ball, and eventually the ball would pop up, and the two people there waiting is Isagi and Bato. They would both jump for the ball, but it seems like Isagi has more height on him, and he steals the ball from Bato. Bato tries to steal it back, but would get nutmegged, and he would get passed by immediately as Isagi would go racing down the sidelines, and it seemed as if no one could keep up with him. No one was fast enough to even catch up to him as he would score an easy goal. And the effect that Bato would normally have is the same effect that Isagi would have, but just better. Isagi would show his entire team his capabilities and what he's available to do and how good he truly is. So when he's racing down the field and he looks for open people, seeing Bachira, Kunigami, and anybody down there, people like Gagamaru, he would pass it beautifully, perfect actually, to them, and they would score goals very easily. Isagi would wave them off on certain instances to have other people score goals. And actually, this would lead to everybody but their goalie to score 1 goal each. Yeah, you heard that right. So they would end 10-0. Yeah, that is an absolutely insane scoreline. But Isagi wanted to make it obvious that if they facilitate through him and they allow all of the offense, the defense, all of it to run through him, that he'll make them the perfect team. And let's just say this was a pretty easy way of getting people to actually believe that he's that dude, even though he didn't say or try to convince them in the first place that he's like basically him. But after that game, after winning by such a large margin, everybody knew that Isagi was going to benefit or was going to majorly help everyone around him. And this is when they kind of decide that they're going to actually trust Isagi. They're going to trust him and actually rely on him to a certain extent. Isagi will be the facilitator, will be the main dude that's calling the shots, and they'll figure out play styles and stuff like that throughout this time, or at least this short bit of time that they have before the next game. They come up with some schemes and stuff like that, and Isagi says that just to be ready to adapt on the fly, because they never know exactly what's to come. And Isagi tells them that if he has to take over, he'll fully take over, but he has full trust in the idea of expanding their offense based on teamwork. Yes, there is a different version of teamwork here, especially since they're all strikers, but use their abilities as a striker to their own advantage, because if they do, then they can definitely level up to whatever Jinpachi Ego believes they can get to. So the next game would be against Team Y, and it would be against Okawa and Nico. These two seem to be a pretty good dynamic duo, but Isagi quickly at the beginning of this game would realize the restrictions that Okawa and Nico put on each other. At the end of the day, Okawa is just a run and gunner, basically someone that is this speedster that is a gunner and that will just go down the field streaking as fast as possible and would kind of try to swerve in and out of defenders. But once you put a cap on Nico, basically there is nothing that he can do, nothing Okawa or Nico could do, and this puts them in a drastically bad situation, and they come to that conclusion very quickly because it's obvious what's going to happen and what's going to occur. Well, Okawa and Nico are basically put on the back foot very quickly and are pressured to kind of not do very well, or pressured to more or less try and adapt to what's in front of them. But yeah, it's not that simple. They can't adapt as quickly as Isagi is adapting, and they can't figure out what they need to do to stop Isagi from scoring and stop whatever is happening from happening. And they realize that very quickly because Isagi puts them on the back foot so quick. And this drastically changes the game for them. Isagi's team would score goal after goal after goal, and every single person would be in complete and utter awe. It seems as if he's able to kind of intertwine play styles between everybody, and it seems as if there is an insane amount of stuff going on at this moment. And it seems like an insane amount of communication very soon. Isagi would show the level of playstyle he has compared to, well, Nico's team. And Nico would even remark that it seems like Isagi is the perfect player. He reminds him so much of one Noel Noah. It seems as if Isagi can score from any angle, but his passing ability, his dribbling, his speed, it seems like it's a combination. It's as if he's a grown man playing against children. It's kind of unfair. That's what it feels like. It feels like Isagi is genuinely a grown man, and that he is just levels above the people he's playing against. And this is not a good feeling as a football player. This is not a good feeling as a player in general. When there's someone on the other side of the field that seems to be levels above you, it feels like that he can't be touched, as if nothing they do will work. It's something that nobody wants to feel, and the dissection and obliteration of Nico's team would ensue, and it would show just that. It would show domination. It would show obliteration, and Isagi would walk all over that team. Now, with that said, all these games that they do, including the next one, will be a showing of Isagi. But Isagi wants every single player on his team to level up and transcend, because he believes that as they grow, he will grow, and there is no catching him necessarily, but he feels that the better the players he plays around, the better he could possibly get. Maybe everyone around him sees him as the perfect player, but a sword could always get sharper, and a wall could always get stronger. It's that simple. You always evolve, you always transcend, and you always push even further. At the end of the day, just because a military tank works, and just because it's pretty sturdy and really strong, doesn't mean you don't want it to be stronger. Doesn't mean you don't want it to be durable or more durable. These are things that Isagi thinks about, and throughout his time, he knows that this is the perfect way for him to get even better. And this would eventually lead to a conversation with the future Red Panther, the future speedster of Blue Lock, Chiguri. He would speak to him, and Chiguri wouldn't take him that seriously because it seems as if Isagi has it all figured out. Why does he need to talk to him? But Isagi tells him exactly what he believes, exactly what he thinks, and eventually he would tell Chiguri that he wants to see the best of him. He wants to see him transcend to the next level, wants to see him level up to levels beyond what he's been doing, and levels beyond what they would even believe he would be capable of. He wants to see Isagi transcend to he wants to see Chiguri transcend to the next level, but he's not gonna lie, this will also benefit himself and transcend him even more. Chiguri would shake his head a little bit and say that he doesn't understand what he's been going through and what he does go through, and Isagi would agree, he doesn't, but allow him to understand, so they both can evolve and become even greater strikers. And this would revive Chiguri's look in his eye, and it seems as if Chiguri is ready for the next step, ready to take on the people that once tormented him, and that would be against the Wannama twins. But for now, that is the end of part 1. Isagi and Chiguri, that's who it's all about right now. Isagi and Chiguri are going to take on the next team more or less as a tandem. He tells Chiguri that they're going to take over this game with their speed. And Chiguri initially is hesitant, believing that he's not ready, and that he believes that maybe, just maybe, everyone else is right. that he's not going to be the same. He's not going to be fast enough. He's no longer going to be the player he once was. But Isagi tells him that they're right. He's not going to be the player he once was, because he's going to be better than the player he once was. Isagi makes this very, very transparent, and when they step on that field against the Wannama twins, we have a different game. Would Isagi be able to dominate practically on his own and through team play destroy the Wannama twins? For sure. But wouldn't it be so much more fun to watch two absolute speedsters sprint down the field out of all hell? And that's exactly what they do. It's as if these two are the red Flash and the blue Flash, and they begin to both sprint down the field as Bachira would set them both up basically for goals and set them both up to more or less pass it between each other and make some insane tandem plays. They would pass between each other, setting each other up for beautiful goals that were unheard of. And let's just say someone right now is watching. Jinpachi Ego is watching as all of this is occurring, as all of this is going down. And he's watching as Isagi is creating a team of absolute monsters. Yeah, absolute monsters. And at the end of the day, he's pretty psyched about it, because there is no way around the fact that Isagi is doing his job for him, and Isagi is just proving more and more why he's the perfect player. From his skills, his speed, his intelligence, and even, well, his ability to make everyone else better. Isagi truly is the perfect player. And as they race down the field together, scoring goal after goal, and their defensive stops just more or less rely on Isagi and Chiguri just sprinting across the field and just wreaking havoc, is insane. It's an absolute beautiful spectacle, and the Wannama twins are just taken back by this, not knowing what to even do. I mean, what are they supposed to do? How are they going to stop this? The speed that they're showing, the coordination, all of it. But Chiguri himself is in complete and utter admittance that he wouldn't have been able to do this if he didn't step out of that gloomy shadow he was in initially. He finally stepped out. He finally stopped listening to the naysayers, and he finally started playing football once again. And this made him extremely grateful to Isagi, and Isagi tells him that it's really just part of the job. That at the end of the day, anybody else with a good heart would have done it too. In which is true, but Chiguri makes it pretty clear that Isagi's definitely a different type of person. Not many people would have gone out of their way to do such a thing, especially for a person they have no idea who they are in the long run. They have literally, he doesn't really know who Chiguri is, and not many people would go out of their way to truly help someone that they don't know. But Isagi says that he's here to be the best striker, and the best way for him to do that, well, is to make the others around him even greater, to make them better and better and better as they continue on throughout this time. Now, with all that said, Isagi tells them all that with this game behind them, they officially are in the next part of the selection. That Isagi and their team of Team Z, has officially bridged the gap, and it seems as if they are now on a consequential journey now to the next part of the selection, or the second selection. This next match doesn't matter. Isagi knows it, everyone knows it, and Isagi wouldn't take it 100% seriously in a way. But he would use this time and this next game, a game actually against another 3-0 team, to actually kind of evolve some other people. And he does this in a way of getting other people involved. And even with Nagi, Reyos, and Tetsu, the speed that they have, it's as if just having Isagi on the field on their side is a freaking cheat code. It is insane. It is unstoppable, and it feels like it's unfair. And it's pretty obvious that everyone believes this as well. That it's just straight up unfair that Isagi can do the things he can do, and straight up unfair just what he's outputting. The offensive prowess, and all of the above. It feels genuinely unfair what he's capable of. And when Nagi even tries to contest the soaring football coming through the sky, it seems as if, well, he can't even touch it. Isagi's there before him. Every single time they go for a ball, he's there. He meets him there quicker. He's always faster, always quicker, always higher, always everything. What is up with this guy? Nagi even feels this competition, even though, let's be honest, it's really not one. But he feels the competition, and he decides that he'll push himself even further. He'll push past whatever stupid little bit of ego or whatever he needs to get by. He'll somehow win, and this would eventually lead to a Nagi goal. And Isagi would be pretty impressed. He would be taken back by what this guy was able to do, but at the end of the day, it didn't really matter. It really didn't matter. But still, the end for Nagi and the end for the team V would basically be over now. But it wouldn't be necessarily the end, because at the end of the day, well, it's kind of okay that they lost, because literally it's, time for them to go to the next selection, and they were both undefeated, so who really cares? But Nagi's just obsessed now with trying to beat Isagi. All he can think about is joining him, learning from him, or beating him. That's all he can think about now, and he's super obsessed with it, and it's giving him this drive and want to actually play, which is a great thing, because normally Nagi is a bit lazy. He doesn't like playing football. He doesn't like working out, all of the above. He's just not a big fan of effort. And I know I've been there too, but I've never, and I haven't. I could only strive for the constant laziness that Nagi portrays. Shout out to Nagi. That is insane. But still, Isagi sees that determination in Nagi's eyes, and he's interested. He wants to see what else Nagi can do, and maybe he'll get that chance sooner rather than later, but they'll have to see pretty soon. Because this is the end of the final game. The final game that would lead to the second selection. After some time would pass, they would listen to a speaker, as it would be Jinpachi Ego speaking to all of them. Ego would tell them all that they had pretty good time here, and that they've gone 4-0, so I mean, there's nothing too much to complain about, but there's always something to get better at. And he tells them all that they're going to do some physical training first, and then they will go on to the next stage of this whole blue lock kind of creation method, and he's going to basically polish them and make them true polished diamonds. And it all starts with this physical activity. They begin working out, training, and so on and so forth. And Isagi kind of feels alright about it. I mean, he doesn't feel too tired, feel too wrapped around it. He doesn't really mind. He thinks he's A-okay. And Isagi would watch as his teammates would more or less struggle because they're not as fit and as strong as he is. But Isagi's just excited to get into the next portion of Blue Lock, which is Blue Lock Man. Blue Lock Man is something that Isagi never thought he would see. It's a holographic, weird goalkeeper that actually works as a physical kind of being. And he never knew this thing even existed, or kind of the technology even existed, because he kicks out at Blue Lock Man and he could literally touch the ball. This blows his mind. Absolutely floors him. I mean, it's not like it's a hard thing for him to do and get through. He could easily score on Blue Lock Man, but it still surprises him. He's still pretty taken back by it, because it's like, how does this even happen? Like, how at all? And even with that said, it doesn't matter that much in the overall grand scheme of things. But Isagi finishes up relatively quickly, and he feels good about what he's done so far. I mean, at the end of the day, he's kind of already fitted to do everything he needs to do, and he's already done with what he needs to get done. And, well, that is literally what was in front of him. So he finishes off and finishes Blue Lock Man and defeats him by scoring his 90 or so goals. And he goes on to the next stage of this second selection. And the next stage of the second selection would be pretty interesting. But Isagi would be forced to wait on his own and wait for people to approach and come through the doorway. And the first person actually to come through, at least after Isagi, would be, well, Rin. Rin is an absolute monster on the field and an absolute just freak at being as good as he is. And Isagi doesn't know much about him, let's be honest, but he still wants to kind of figure out what he's capable of and so on. But he sees that Rin wants to go in ASAP, so he tells Isagi and someone else that walks through to go in with him now. But Isagi actually ends up refusing, saying that he has other players he'll play with. And Rin kind of is annoyed by this, because it's like, what is he even trying to build? Like, he's trying to have a connection with some of these other strikers. Like, come on, dude. Like, these are strikers. These are people that you're trying to compete against. But Rin would be annoyed and wait for the next person and walk away. Eventually, though, Isagi would wait for a couple people, and this would include Nagi. Nagi would approach him earlier than really anyone else, and Nagi would immediately say that he wants Isagi to join their team, but Isagi would kind of say that he doesn't really want to join their team. He's actually waiting for someone else, and it's really just whoever comes in first. It's going to either be Bachira or Chiguri or both. Ideally, he wants both on his team, and, well, Nagi says that, well, he'll join his team, but Isagi tells him again that maybe they'll find their way on the same team sooner rather than later, but right now he kind of wants to avoid being on the same team as Nagi. He says it's nothing personal, but at the same time, he just wants to kind of team up with the people he wants to team up with at the end of the day. Nagi is a little bit annoyed, but he understands what he's saying and says that he guesses that he'll have to somehow play with or against him in the near future, and Isagi nods his head and agrees on that fact alone. Eventually, Chiguri and Bachira would show up, and he would join teams with them, and they would feel bad that they can't necessarily pick up someone like Kunigami or anyone else like Gagamaru, but at the end of the day, this is kind of the way it goes. They can't really do much about it. So they create their team, being that of Isagi, Bachira, and Chiguri, and frankly, this is a dream squad for what they want to do, because, well, the main thing they want to do is play at a high pace, play extremely fast, and just absolutely torch as many teams as possible and try to get out of this selection as quick as possible as well. Isagi even tells them that they will wipe through as many teams as they have to, and when they walk through those doors, they actually still only see one team. And this wouldn't surprise them necessarily, but because they didn't really see anybody else go through, but they see the team of Rin, Aru, and Tokumitsu, and this wouldn't shock Isagi necessarily by any means, but at least this is a pretty interesting chance to take on Rin and see what he's really capable of, because he can tell that he's talented, but Isagi knows that him and also the other people with him are basically able to outpace anybody. It doesn't matter who it is, anybody. And he's going to show them exactly what he's capable of and show them exactly what he can do. So that's what they're going to do. They're going to take on the team of Rin, Tokumitsu, and also Aru. And they're going to make sure that they dominate. But how will this game go? And will Rin really allow the domination of his own team against someone like Isagi? Well, you're going to have to find out in the final part of what if Isagi was the perfect player. Isagi, Bachira, and Chiguri. They are taking on what seems to be the prodigy of Blue Lock. Blue Lock hasn't shown much just yet. Everybody's been sectioned off into different places in this so-called facility, but now they take on someone that is connected to one of the best players in Japan, that being Isagi Itoshi's little brother, Rin Itoshi. It's Rin, it's Aru, and it's Tokumitsu versus Bachira, Isagi, and Chiguri. And Isagi is there to prove how much better he is than everyone else that is there. And that's the fact of it. Isagi wants to not only step up, but Isagi wants to show that he's that much better than everyone else that steps on the field. Isagi steps on that field with Bachira and Chiguri, and it's immediately obvious that the speed advantage leans heavily toward his team. Isagi is extremely fast, and on top of that, well, Chiguri is extremely fast. And reading the field is not enough to stop them from absolutely blowing by every defender that they have. It seems as if there's really no chance at stopping this team. Rin believes that maybe they should just go blow for blow. Maybe their best chance is to just all out try to score. Maybe, just maybe, they'll be able to keep up. But it's never that simple. Because once Rin begins to set up his team for their own goal, being obviously down 1-0, he tries to set him up, and it's immediately trumped by Isagi. Isagi's right there. His speed, his strength, and also his ability to read the field seems to be exceedingly better than Rin's at this moment. Rin is shocked to see a speeding Isagi coming across the field and immediately stealing it from him. He's immediately taken back by this, wondering how he was even able to basically get there, how he was able to read exactly what was happening and make a play, make an immediate play. It's insane what he was able to do, and insane that he was even able to do it in the first place. But Rin has to keep his head on straight. He believes that he's still in this match, so he needs to figure out how to get past Isagi. He even tries to score a goal from the halfway point on the field, shooting, and it's a beautiful shot at that, seemingly soaring to the top right of the goal, but Isagi seems to be there to meet it. Isagi headers the ball away, and Bachira recovers it, kicking it up the field to Chiguri, as Chiguri is already in place to score another goal. It's as if the speed of what they're doing, the outlet passes, everything is just too perfect. Rin is falling behind way faster than he ever thought he would ever fall behind against someone that isn't Saitoshi. He realizes that this is basically a losing battle that he's playing at the moment, and he needs to step it the hell up. And that's what he tries to do. He tries to get everyone involved. He tries to set the field up perfectly for goals that he can see in the near future, and maybe, just maybe, he would get one of them at most. But Isagi's speed, his strength, his height, everything about him, everything, his ability to use his left and right foot to the same degree makes him perfect. And it's obvious that there is no keeping up. There is no chance for Rin Itoshi's team to win. This would obviously put him off extremely bad. He would be wondering, what does he lack? What is he so far behind in? But Isagi would kind of sense this doubt in his mind. So after he wins 5-1, he would tell Rin that it's not that he lacks something, it's that Isagi is just that much better, and that he can tell him exactly why he's that much better. Rin is shocked to hear this, but he tells Rin that there's not much time to keep on chatting, that, well, it's time for more or less him to join their team and for them to proceed to the next round. And let's just say the next round would be just as easy. this team that Isagi has built and the team that he's utilizing would come up against a team of Nagi, Reo, Zantetsu, and one other player, but it wouldn't necessarily matter. This would be a game for Nagi to try his best to get his so-called revenge, to show that he could compete against the best, or, well, in this case, the best. Or the best, the one singular best in Isagi. But even with that said, it's not that simple. It's never that simple. The combination of Isagi and Rin is even more lethal than what anyone would believe. This combination seems to be so dominant, so perfect. It's as if Isagi is making every single person on the field, Chiguri, Bachira, and obviously Rin, that much better. So much better so that it's almost impossible to even believe that they could lose. How is it even possible for them to lose in general? And that would definitely feel like the case, and would feel like the case for a while. Well, that's until they get on to the next round. Isagi and, well, his team would beat Nagi's team, and pretty handedly at that. It wouldn't be too hard at all. And, well, when he would beat him, there was something else that was to come, something else that was going to happen next. And that something, well, is the one and only game against 5 of the best players in the world. Yes, there's a team of Isagi, a team of Nagi, with Rin, Bachira, and Chiguri. The speed is unmatched, the ball control is amazing. But how will they do against the best players on the planet? Yeah, now that game is a spectacle. But in all reality, well, Isagi, he's ready for it. But the real question is, everyone else ready for it? Because when you step on that field with 5 of the best players in the world, not everything that you can do will translate to the people around you. A fast goal, a very, very quick one from Isagi to Rin to Bachira. There would be a quick goal that Isagi would pass to Rin. Bachira would receive the ball from Rin, and a beautiful pass soaring through the air would lead Rin to scoring a goal as well. But once the other team got on offense, once the World 5 was or had possession of the ball, it seemed as if everything changed in an instant. Isagi could lock down one player and maybe even get a steal and find a goal for himself, but everything after, it just went downhill. It seemed as if everything began to crumble extremely fast, and that's to be expected when you're going against someone like the World 5. Rin was cocky, he was arrogant, he believed that they were gonna win no matter what, but Rin isn't on the level of Isagi, and he's far from it, and the only person that's even on the level of the World 5 or close to it is Isagi himself. So yeah, Isagi can keep up with one of them, but being a perfect player, being the perfection that he is, well, he can't keep up with all 5. And his team would end up losing 5-2, and it would be definitely an eye-opening experience for all of them, even including Isagi. Isagi would tell them that they can't take things so lightly, that whatever's to come must be much, much greater than they possibly imagine, that going against, well, each other is one thing, but once you start leveling up the competition, it's a whole nother thing. And Isagi says that his assumption is that there's going to be a next level to all of this. There's going to be another version of what they're going to have to do. So his team would pass on, and they would win, or they would technically pass on to the next selection, and they would wait for everyone else's arrival. But once everyone else would arrive, he would realize something. Well, for one, Kunigami is not there, and that would definitely off-put him entirely, but Shido or someone else that is very cocky, arrogant, and so on would show up in front of him. Shido would throw a kick at Isagi, but he would easily catch the kick and put Shido on the ground, telling him that there's no point in trying to attack him, that there's no point in even this squabble at all. At the end of the day, he is upset Kunigami's gone, but all of the things, or everything, will end with him being the greatest striker here. So all of them will be gone eventually. In which this is one of the first times that everyone sees that Isagi's being arrogant, more or less showing the ego side or the egoist side of himself. But before that conversation could go any further, the screen would turn on and, well, it was Jinpachi Ego. Jinpachi Ego would begin speaking and telling everybody there that they have a brand new thing to get into, and that is something that should make them scared, but also make them excited. That these unpolished gems are going to be the best, the greatest. These unpolished gems are going to show everyone why they're so much greater than anyone could possibly imagine. In which Isagi would smirk slightly because he has a feeling what's coming. And that is because they're going to be taking on Japan's U20 team. Japan's U20 team is built up of elite talent, but there's one person that him and even Rin are excited to take on, and that is Isagi Itoshi, the most touted prospect in Japan, so touted to be some prodigy, some prodigal son, the one person that's going to lead Japan to the promised land, and now they get a chance at the big time. Now they get a chance at shooting down the best player on the U20 team and the U20 team itself. Jinpachi Ego says this is do or die for Blue Lock, and that if they want to be the greatest striker in the world, well, they're going to have to beat the greatest in the world. And this is far from the greatest in the world. So they better step up and beat the Japan's U20 team and show why they are inferior to Blue Lock. Isagi smirks just a little bit, and he's ready to take on the challenge that's ahead of him. But that is the end of this What If. That's the end of What If Isagi was the perfect player. But if you enjoyed, show some love, leave a like, leave a sub, leave a comment down below as always. And if you're watching or listening to this on Spotify, make sure to leave a follow and a 5-star rating. I actually have Dragon Ball What Ifs on my Dragon Ball channel. I'm debating if I want to put that on Spotify or not, or make a new Spotify for it. I haven't decided quite yet, but those who are on Spotify, well, you might see it, you might not. It really depends. We'll see. But with that said, I hope y'all enjoyed, and I hope all y'all have an amazing day. Later.